Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I am Ross Morasso, and my guest today, first time for me, but returning guest for our show as a whole, George Turnage, a.k.a. Papa Yatande, who is one of the lead priests at Le Peristyle Haitian Sanctuary located out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But that's just personally where you reside. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Ross. A pleasure.
Yeah, so tell me, though, your church and what your movement is not just localized to Philadelphia or the United States. So tell me how far this stretches.
Not only are we known across the United States for our unification of the faiths, I'm the president of the National African Religion Congress. And my wife formed it in 99 because we were trying to help people understand the truth about African religions, particularly, the authorities, our different people in local political offices who, were getting a lot of complaints from neighbors and or Christian groups that did not understand or want to have an African faith in their community. So what we were able to do was we have an RV, a motor coach where I travel from one part of, excuse that phone, I travel from one part of the United States to the next, all over, and have met with police liaisons, detectives, animal rights groups, as well as the other animal rights organizations affiliated with those cities, to give them not only paperwork but very good information and relationships.
Let me ask you about this. So, Papa Yatande, you are a legitimate voodoo priest, right? And sometimes in our nation, unfortunately, that almost comes off as like a punchline. Yeah. So, hey, right over the years. Now, I'd like to say that we're moving in the right direction in America, at least in terms of understanding that there is a lot of different perspectives out there. It sounds like what you're saying is that as you travel around, that you are trying to educate and build awareness for exactly what your faith is and how it operates. I mean, how do you feel things have changed? I mean, you've been involved in this for a minute now, right? It's been going on 4 or 5 decades, right? I think you had mentioned to me. So, have you noticed a positive change in terms of awareness and acceptance?
Yes, it's an ongoing struggle. However, as you can imagine, there are a lot of people who are thrilled to try and be a part of African faiths. And I'm sorry, I'm sitting in my office and people are still trying to call in. Hey, can I get on the show? Like, no.
You had your chance.
That's right.
Maybe next time.
But folks it's really strange. You have a lot of people who actually want to be a part of African faiths. However, they don't want to necessarily do it the correct way. So you have a lot of folks throughout the United States, particularly in the US, that want to start their own sanctuary, if you will, and but they have no knowledge of what's going on. And we have a directory that we've started that we log in not only new sanctuaries ran by authentic priests or priestesses with their locations and their lineage regarding who initiated you, who initiated them, where are you from, your how many years involved with this, because you can't decide today, oh, I'm going to be a Mambo or a Hungan, like in Voodoo or in Orisha faiths, and decide that you're going to go and help someone. The truth of the matter is what we do is literally help people, not only with health issues, but in regards to what is an accepted way to practice in your community that is something you're not doing that is appropriate. You know, I understand people get the thing of beating drums and or dancing, the cultural dances and things, and the songs and things of singing are very foreign. However, the different things that people may do simply because they want to express their faith may not be appropriate, and sometimes are just simply not a part of the faith. So what people do is they get in touch with us and they let us know who these folks are, or those folks get in touch with us as well. And we offer classes, we offer information and documentation in terms of faith and what to do. So we try to help both sides. We're not just out here to help those involved with faith, because this involves the not only understanding but unification. As we as a people, especially in the United States, we stop looking at this race, that race, of people. We look at the unification of Americans, and these faiths have been exploited for so long, as you know, in movies and documentaries that have maligned the actual reasons what we do. And what we try to do is to simply bring correction to that, not only to the public at large, to different faiths, because we're about faith initiatives, but we also stand to help correct our own people involved with the different and the vast diversities of African faiths, so that they you know how it is. Well, if you're upset with me and what I'm doing, then we're going to do this. We're going to just do that or whatever, and it's inappropriate. It doesn't represent who you actually are, and or God and the special forces. When I say forces, meaning the like you may call archangels or spirits. Well, the same thing, involved with African faiths that go back, I mean, millennia, and so what we try to do is to make everybody have an understanding and let them know, if you're going to practice your faith, practice it the way God would have you practice, and to also bring the respect you deserve by people seeing you respectfully.
With our political discourse that we've dealt with even more intensely over the past few years, I don't think you would be even the 100,000th person to say that people declaring themselves a practicer of a certain religion are, not actually following the teachings of that. But that's sort of on a one-by-one basis. What you're talking about are communities that have set up with the intention to practice your faith. There's effort with that, right? They're holding ceremonies and things like that. Do you find that when you reach out to them, that a lot of the for lack of a better term, incorrect methodologies that they're using is just more out of an honest ignorance of what they're supposed to be doing? Or do you think they're trying to make it their own way, or are they just sort of filling in the blanks because they didn't know and they welcome your advice?
I would say all of the above. Some of them are looking for help. Some of them are. We have thousands of members involved with the Congress that get in touch with us. We used to have conferences here in Philadelphia or in different parts of the United States that people can actually come to, so that they can, they can come and express whatever concerns that they may have, but also can get a chance to have presentations to us about what troubles and things that they may have. Now, it's important to understand that one of the things that I'm about to do a conference on with the University of North Carolina in Charlotte, they're taking us to Bahia, Brazil, to do a presentation on racism and discrimination against African faiths, or what they call the teachings, or the racism against African gods. I have certain reserves with that, because there's only but one God, and the truth of the matter is that, due to from not only slavery or ignorance, or the dogma of certain faiths, when they look and see what's going on in African religions, they begin to have their own theory and their own way of saying, well, they have a God for this and a God for that. I even hear my own people, say the certain things, and we have brought the correction to that, because we're involved with, all the way from the start, of the Kushites, the Nubians, the folks of Kemet, that deal with what they call Netta. That was the first name for dealing with those forces. Netta is nothing but natural, means the term means nature. And we are faiths that are connected with the quantum sciences of these religions. Somebody is insistent. And so what we began to teach people about is why we are connected to rain and wind and river and ocean and land and plants and all of the ecosystems that you can imagine, which is where we get our lessons from, it in nature, how we heal. I mean, we've healed cancers, we've healed a lot of things, which I won't necessarily go into, because there seems to be some pushbacks, particularly with big pharma and other
traditional medicine, as they would say, right?
Exactly. And the truth is that all things on the planet are connected by nature. Just try not breathing for 3 minutes, and you'll see why it's important to get air, or go without drinking water, or those types of things. Sunshine, and all of that type of things, which, if you are learned in your faith, especially in African faiths, the truth is, the truth is, you will learn about who these faiths were, and from the beginning, what they do, how they connect. They teach you about truth, and they teach you about trust. They teach you about honesty, and how to connect with one another. That's why in African faiths there's no such thing as racism. Like, if you're white, you can't. Oh, you can't do that, because it would be an affront to God. It would be an affront to nature. You and I bleed the same blood, and we can go on about what your complexion is as opposed to my complexion, but those things are just ways to divide us and keep us running around, apart from one another, and that's not the way. That's something that is what they call a distraction, and you see it in our politics, you see it in everything. They people are just distracted. Our young people who are running around with guns and this type of thing, trying to get money, a distraction. You and I see sports figures making $200 million and stuff like that, and quite frankly, who do you really know is worth that kind of money to throw a ball, bounce a ball, catch a ball, or anything like that? It's a distraction, because what it does, it gives the wrong message to our young people, especially out of college, looking to come and make. And I'm all about them having success, because they try to go back to help their parents and their communities, and this is a good thing. But what's wrong with it is when they begin to send wrong messages to young people that this is what it's all about, and entertainers, and things like that. We know a lot of
Anyone
them.
with a large enough microphone, right?
Oh my God, yeah. And we need more people like myself to really address these types of things so that we can kind of get our wheels on the track and travel in the same direction, because it's just not about uh, how much money you're going to make. It's how good is your heart, your kindness, your love, your approach to doing for one another, health, and so forth and so on. We can go on and on and on and talk about all kinds of things that I'm prepared to talk about. One of the things that I am constantly, like I said in the conference, is to talk about the racism and the discrimination in our own faiths. We have
Mm.
grown so much to try to blame other people about racism and discrimination. Well, next door, they don't like me. They call the cops on me, and that's okay. We help to deal. We have ways to deal with that. You have constitutional rights. You have, long as you are in obedience to certain ordinances in your community, where you can't go out there and can't believe I'm saying this. There was a man in California who actually read his Odu the wrong way, meaning his reading a message that he got, which said that he has to offer a horse, and he did. And the animal rights or the animal control people in that community got our phone number, called. I actually took the call, and I worked with them to say that I understand what he did, but he definitely misread the Odu. The Odu was the symbol or the words that telling him what he needed to do. The truth was, the matter is, he needed to take the tail of the horse. You may see in African faith, you see certain chiefs or high priests. They may have this thing that they walk around with, and it's almost like it's a whisk almost. And he did not understand it. Well, the problem was, he read it on his own. He was by himself. He took initiatives on his own. He bought a horse, actually took it to his backyard and slaughtered it. And neighbors and everybody who saw it was, of course, appalled. And in the United States, there are certain things like cats, dogs, horses, and other type of animals, especially endangered species, that you cannot do that kind of things. And we have come to understand and acknowledge that that may be something that you will do in Africa or South America, something like that. But even that is far fetched. And the man didn't want to work with us. Even when the police and animal control worked with me, I heard them on the phone begging him to talk with us in regards to it. And I had on the phone several Babalawo, which is the name of the high priest in his faith, who was saying to him that you just simply misunderstood, and that you should never take initiatives like that by yourself. Never of one, but always of two. This has been something that has been since millennia. I mean, since the beginning of these faiths, because you may read something and get an understanding, but there may be the second person saying, no, it's not saying that, it's saying this. And and you can consult others to see if who is correct, but you're not taking initiatives by yourself to do something that's so heinous and so misunderstood that you have the thing to think that you're right. So what I've been able to do was address our communities of different faiths, because this house don't like that house, this faith don't trust that faith, we might as well be Christians, Muslims, and Jews, because this is the very same thing that we do to ourselves. And what's important of that is that somebody can get in and identify that you can't just look at a group in your community that you don't think likes you, and as a result of them not liking you, you can start talking about discrimination and racism, when the discrimination and racism is the very thing that you do to us to one another.
I ask you something here. And for those of us tuning in, I'm talking with George Turnage, Papa Yantande, who is one of the leaders at Le Peristyle Haitian Sanctuary in Philadelphia, but also part of a congregation from around the world. And as you're talking, you are hitting on something that is near and dear to my heart, which is, and I want to ask you, how much of a component of the disconnect and discourse deals with the need of a human being to be right? So my mother, great woman, used to tell me when I was a child, and I would get, as we are with children, with our need for justice and everything being filled with righteousness, she would say, okay, you're now right. So go eat that. Go sleep on that. Go make a friend because you are right. How much of righteousness do you think plays a part in any discourse, breakdowns, fear, anything almost pointing towards anything that is like bad and not building on, what humanity's full potential can be? Where does the need for a human being to feel right play into all of this? And I mentioned this specifically because you had said that you had people not even part of your faith here, right? With animal control in your story, pleading with this guy to listen, but he just, was still steadfast and being his own way.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you feel about how often when you're running into issues, do you think that this righteousness is standing in the way of progress?
It stands in the way of the progress on a great deal. And what we have to do by, particularly like myself, involved with we call it NARC, National African Religion Congress.
Okay.
NARC has to know the different tenets of all of those faiths. So when we run into people who, want to practice or do something and they want to be right, they get embarrassed. And that's the one thing that we try not to do, is to shame or embarrass people. But one of the things that we try to do is continue to teach, because your mother, God bless her, she was absolutely right. There's no person that's right about everything. And that's the reason why we have such a union with people that I can call any time of the day and night with a very urgent question to looking for answers. And I don't just call one individual, I call several, to make sure that everything that this person is giving me is the same thing as some other person is saying, or priest or priestess is also respectfully saying about a given situation. And we try to offer as much information, as well as we try to offer help and guidance. The thing now, we all have demons in us as well as angels in us. And unfortunately, the distraction of a person, the way I like to express it, I teach, is about the mind. And as you know, in the cerebellum is the dark areas of the mind. And what we have come to realize, that in those areas exist a lot of distraction and a lot of bad or low thinking. And you even heard of the thing of a low life, a person living a low life. This is where it comes from, in the cerebellum. And there are negative energies that are there, but you got to fight against that type of existence if you want to be a better person. The same thing in the cerebral mind, which is the highest area of the brain, where other types of knowledge and things and enlightenment comes from. But too far into the light can be a problem as well, for the fact that you can be blinded by the light. You've seen the high priest or this one, and is walking, his head is and chin is up. He's walking on the backs and the heads of the people, and the robes are dragging in the mud, and because he's blinded by the light. So the area of teachings that I want people to be in is somewhere in the middle. And I say that because you do need some of that darkness. It's what makes human beings. You do need areas of darkness that not for being distracted or not for being evil or mean against people, but you do need some of that be able to say to you that when someone is trying to give you false information, that you can doubt, that you can question, that you can look at and go, well, let me check and see if your information is right. And then the polar opposite is following. You've seen those ministers and preachers all over the world, telling people all kinds of things. For the woman, or I'll have to suckle your breast to get the evil out, or I'll have to do this to children, or I'll have to do, all kinds of things. And they swear that they're right, living in the light, but blinded by the light. The eye is where you want to be able to see correctly, and in your mind, in that tree of life, because the mind or the brain is the top part of the tree, the spine being the entire trunk of the tree that holds up the body, where the electrons are going up and down, sending images and messages to the body. The thing of it is, you want to make sure that you're eating from the right fruit of the tree, and not necessarily thinking that you're so intelligent, or that you're so right about whatever it is that you're thinking and doing. No one can tell me anything, and everybody can see that you're wrong, and it's just something that I fight with everybody, in regards to, and not necessarily to fight. I just give you information that you need to know. And in giving you that information that you need to know, you take it, or you don't have to take it. But what I will point out to you, the things that you are doing that you will definitely have to look at and to contend with, be it you living in a low life or you're living in a high life, that you're just in the dark. You don't want to see anything else. You want to do these kinds of things, or you're so much in the light that you're blinded. The eye of God is the eye of truth and enlightenment. And enlightenment means that you're responsible for the knowledge that you receive. And by being responsible for the knowledge, you're held accountable for the things that you do. And by being held accountable means that you can share, and that you can lead, or that you can also follow, that you can listen to those who may come. Because as you know the story, we're working, we can't get this thing to do right, and for some reason it's not working with all of the brains and the minds that we have. But a kid can come and say, well, why don't we just plug it in?
George Turnage, Papi Antande, we are almost out of time.
Yes.
Yeah, as a leader of the Le Peristyle Haitian sanctuary, the congregation around the world, people that want to learn more about this and get in touch with you, tell us briefly, where can everybody find you?
Well, while we're building a new website called yatande.com, I think the best place is to get in my current email address, which is grohungan@gmail.com. That's GROHUNGAN @gmail.com. Or you can just simply call me, because weeping endures the night, and people call me all the time at 215-869-5322. And I guarantee you, I may have to get up and just freshen my face and rinse my mouth, but I'm there for you.
All right. George Turnage, once again, Papi Antande from the Le Peristyle Haitian Sanctuary. It was a pleasure to talk to you. I do hope that we can continue our conversation. So much to talk about. Very fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you to everybody else for tuning in. I am Ross Morasso. Until next time.
I am Gro Yatande of Voodoo Aizan. Discover the forces of nature with me.
Wow.
Powerful energies that heal and correct the spiritual unbalance in our lives. Powerful energies that keep us seeking truth. I offer you a walk in the forest of the true Garden of Eden inside of you. in the land of paradise, resting at the foothills of heaven, along the waters of life, on the river of Amen.
Was that
Call
James Earl
me
Jones?
at 215-869-5322. Text me, yatande@yatande.com. Rise.
James Earl Jones. Such a pleasure.
Broadcasting
Nice
from the
chat.
business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car
We're
seat
about to hang
looks
up.
like the right size.
There are
Yes.
probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
All right, we are clear. We were still live there, so I had to mute us out there for a little bit. Are you doing more of these? You have more of these scheduled?
Yeah, Steve was not feeling well. That's why Ashley asked me to sit with you, but I'd like to sit with you again, Ross, if that's okay.
I was going to request the exact same thing. I really was hoping to talk about anger management. I want to get into a lot of the services that you offer. I love the notes. I get notes on what you all do. And I know it probably sounds so basic to you, but just the concept of what makes somebody angry, a lack of presence and everything else and things like that. Our meeting here is going to cancel out on us in a few minutes. So it's up to you. Look, if we don't talk again, I will certainly not be offended, but I will welcome it if we get another chance or several more to speak.
I would like that very much. I deal with business. I deal with romance. I deal with matters of health, and I deal with just children parenting. These kinds of things. And I've had a lot of success in working with people, individuals or groups. So I'm looking forward to what it is that you want to talk about, any subject matter, anything like that. A lot of people in business call me about, should I invest in this? Should I do that? Or what do you think about this? And I give them information, matters of the heart. We have so much trouble in relationships, marriages, and things like that I can help to assuage the heart, particularly for different people who love each other. They want to be together. They don't want to fall apart. So it's important that they get information that they themselves can look at and go, wow, that makes sense. Or, I was wrong, about that. It's like what your dear mother was saying. To find a person that can honestly say that they were wrong about something is a huge step, And even if they say that they were right about something, or they can see I was right, but it's not the kind of thing that you want to now be so proud about, and boastful that you're insulting to the very person who that you're with. The whole idea is to find information and how to use that information, how to then, where do we go from there? How do we proceed in our relationship?
Okay. And this literally will just kill us here in about 30 seconds. So we do have to go. And yeah, I love with the marriage counseling that you do, understanding the systems of power you were born with. I feel like it's a fabulous rabbit hole to really discuss. I think there's so much hidden from our view. So I love everything you were saying. And so thank you for the call today. This is a wonderful way for me
Ross.
to start my day. So you have a great day, Papi Antande.
It's a pleasure, Ross. It's a pleasure.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.